Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Li Wei-Cai. Thank you for joining us. Coming up in the show today, we meet a male nurse from Taiwan's DaAi City Hospital whose imposing build may belie his sensitive and caring nature, but whose performance at work has won the trust of every patient. In our regular feature on Taiwan's traditional industries, we introduce to you an all-natural broomstick that used to be very popular before the 1960s until it lost its market to plastic sweepers. And in Thailand, Tzu Chi continues to help underprivileged students stay in school via a scholarship program. Student aid recipients attend the recent Buddha Day ceremony with a heart of thanks. We start the show with our featured report on male nurses working in city hospitals around Taiwan who are every bit as caring and sensitive as their female counterparts. Today we meet 6-foot-tall Lü Zhonglong, who is currently serving at the DaAi City Hospital. Lü's burly physique often has patients wonder whether or not he can do his intricate caregiving job well. However, it doesn't take long for Lü's patients to realize that he is a warm and kind soul who is very professional in his chosen career.
Here at DaAi City Hospital in central Taiwan, the 182-centimeter tall Lü Zhonglong stands out among the medical staff. His masculine and strongly built appearance always gives patients the wrong idea about Lü Zhonglong. However, over time, they all realize that the nurse is not what he looks and that he has another side to him.
He is a really wonderful nurse. He is very attentive and considerate. My father is taking steroids, so Lü Zhonglong will observe his blood vessels and his skin, as well as take note of his reaction to the medication.
It's hard to imagine the hardworking and thoughtful nurse was once a rebellious teenager who was invited to join a gang. Luckily, Lü was clear-minded enough to know it would lead him down the wrong path in life.
Coming away from home, smoking, getting involved in fights and drinking. I've been there and done that.
Knowing that only by taking on further education would he be able to have a bright future, Lü Zhonglong, who enjoys interacting with others, decided to study nursing.
Most of the time, you will see patients and some families or individuals that are not complete. I hope through my job that I will be able to help fill that missing piece of their lives.
From living a life without direction to now saving patients' lives and even providing emotional support to family members, Lü Zhonglong is setting an example for all those around him.
In today's installments of our continuing series, The Power of Love, we once again go back to that fateful day of March 11th, which forever changed so many people's lives in Japan. The destruction wrought by the earthquake and tsunami on that day not only led to a huge loss of life, but also destroyed many families financially. Now, more than a year later, some victims are still jobless and homeless and have taken to living on the streets. As of January this year, there were over 9,000 homeless reported living in Japan, with 2,000 of them in Tokyo alone. Tzu Chi and its local helpers have been working to help this situation, and among them is Yasu Otsuka, a native of Tokyo who has been helping those forced to live on the street find a measure of comfort in their difficult lives. With an exhibition poster in his hand, Yasu Otsuka makes his way through Tokyo's busy streets.
Please come visit our exhibition if you have a chance.
Amid the crowds, Mr. Otsuka speaks of the beauty of Tzu Chi to those willing to listen.
Religions are not thought of highly in Japan, but I've seen how Tzu Chi has only done good things and charitable deeds here in Japan.
Tzu Chi's 10 and more disaster relief missions in Japan have changed many people's perception of the meaning behind Tzu Chi and religious organizations in general.
Following the 3/11 earthquake, I never had a chance to thank the people of Taiwan or Tzu Chi for their help. I'm very happy to have met them.
From his hometown of Tokyo to the disaster zone in the northeast, Mr. Otsuka has been a constant partner in Tzu Chi missions. Single and with no children, 63-year-old Mr. Otsuka is a workman by trade and a Tsuji volunteer at night as he travels the streets of Tokyo caring for its homeless.
This candy and the food you just had are not the same. Give me another.
Mr. Kobayashi is one of the several homeless in Tokyo who originally called the northeast of Japan, now a disaster zone, their home.
Taiwan already has its own poor and homeless. How is it possible that you have come all the way here to help out with us homeless?
As for the Tsuji blankets donated by volunteers, the homeless treasure them. Mr. Iteki wrapped his in plastic bags to prevent it from getting wet.
This way you won't get wet in the rain. If not for Tsuji, there would be no way that I could take care of these homeless alone.
This is a pineapple cake from Taiwan. Please have one.
As night falls, the bustling parking lot attached to the City Hall of Shibuya empties out, and in the place of office workers, cardboard shelters of the homeless spring up.
2 weeks ago, I got bit by a lot of mosquitoes.
To keep the mosquitoes out, Mr. Sakaeno installed a mosquito net on his box, while the inside is filled with drawings done by himself.
I didn't think too much about it. I first drew a circle and then added some here on the edges, and the result was this.
For the homeless, time is one thing that they have in abundance, but for volunteers, time is the one thing they lack.
If I can continue to work with Tsuji, I will become very lonely, so I will do my best to continue on the Tsuji path.
When he first started, he was unable to forget himself and was always fidgeting. After helping out with the disaster relief 4 or 5 times, he has become much more calm.
Now undergoing Tsuji Faith Core training, Mr. Otsuka has begun developing a heart that is firm in its commitment to others and full of hope for the future. Back to Taiwan, Tsuji volunteers have also extended a warm hand to the needy and offshore island of Penghu by distributing relief supplies regularly every month. On the day of distribution this month, volunteers also helped take the blood pressure of care recipients. A simple Buddha Day ceremony was then held so all could share in the Buddha's blessings.
At the monthly distribution day in Penghu, Tsuji volunteer Fan Shujing measures the blood pressure of a care recipient.
This Tsuji sister really cares about me. She worries if my blood pressure is not normal.
Because of my nursing background, I can take their blood pressure. I'll give them advice if there's any problem. If they're taking medication and the readings are still high, I will tell them to see a doctor.
For some care recipients who cannot join the Buddha Day ceremony, the volunteers arranged a simple ceremony so they could all still be blessed.
I bathe the Buddha with sincerity. I will purify my mind and return the favor to society.
I'm blessed when I feel love from the Buddha. My heart becomes clear when I bathe the Buddha. I felt relaxed and blessed after the ceremony.
In addition to rice and emergency cash, peace ornaments are also distributed this time to wish for peace and health for all.
Still in Taiwan but moving to Taichung, Tsuji volunteers have been caring for 93-year-old deaf-mute senior Liu Ye-ai through home visitations in the past 4 years. Since the senior couldn't speak nor hear, volunteers have been communicating with her through sign language. The constant supply of love and support from the caregivers inspired happiness in the senior, who decided to save money to help those who are less fortunate.
Despite the rain, Tsuji volunteers are visiting Liu Ye-ai. Since 93-year-old Liu Ye-ai is deaf, volunteers have to use sign language to communicate with her.
The senior's legs don't have that much strength anymore. She is also diagnosed with high blood pressure.
The senior has high blood pressure and other chronic diseases, so whenever we visit her, we bring some nutritious food made by the Jingse boat nuns.
The volunteers not only look after the senior's health, but also care about her living condition. She lives in an old house with water staying on the roof and cracks on the wall. In her world of silence, the senior can still feel warmth in society.
The senior treats us like her family, and she is always excited when we visit her.
Before, the senior was always depressed, but now seeing us makes her very happy.
Thanks to the volunteers, the senior regained happiness and even want to donate money to the poor.
你那个竹筒啊，投那个竹筒啊，那个钱啊，帮助很多人啊！你看这个是收据，对吗？对，感恩大家。
After the rain, volunteers take the senior out to get some fresh air. Tsuji volunteers provide companionship to the senior who has already lost her daughter. Through her smile, the senior expresses her gratitude towards the volunteers.
Nowadays, brooms are mostly made from plastic, but in the past, they were made from tying leaves or twigs together. We now introduce you to one of these traditional brooms that originated in southern Taiwan, which has a stunning title, the Heaven and Earth Sweeper. In this rural farming village in southern Taiwan, elderly residents are already up at daybreak. Some start their day by first sweeping the floor. However, the broom they use is more than just a sweeper. A broom made from the leaves of Taiwanese date palms, also known locally as kanglang, is also called the Heaven and Earth Sweeper. It is supposed to sweep away evil spirits and bring forth blessings. After chopping down the kanglang leaves, they must first be processed before becoming a broom. Each leaf is sliced into 3 thin segments, which are then set out to dry under the sun. 2 days later, when the fiber has softened, they can then be tied together.
You pick the nicer ones and put the stem in the middle.
The stems of shell ginger are used to tie the leaves together, but first the stems have to be made into a rope.
You twist them like so using your shins. The rope has to be round to do the trick. This won't scratch my skin. Actually, I don't have hairs on my legs now because of this.
And so the secret to the beautiful smooth legs of Lingnae's woman has finally been revealed. The seemingly easy job actually requires a lot of skill. Before the 60s, the broom industry actually made the town rich.
We were well off back then. We weren't super rich, but life was good. No one was living in poverty. There was no competition.
However, the good times ended with the advent of plastic goods.
But then plastic goods came. Secondly, the palm trees became much harder to find. They grow very slowly.
Due to excessive deforestation, Taiwanese date palms are now seldom found in Lingnae, as is the number of broom makers. As we saw in the last story, few people in Lingyuan district's Lingnae still remember how to make the Heaven and Earth Sweeper. To keep the old art alive, a local school decided to teach its charges how to make the broom, a lesson which the children enjoyed.
82-year-old Liu Su of southern Taiwan's Lingnae has been making the Heaven and Earth Sweeper all her life. Though now retired, the senior is still teaching people how to make it from scratch.
Right, you have to slice it in half. You need to do it evenly. I've been doing this my whole life, so I've grown quite fond of it. Both of my parents were in the business. They didn't want me to learn, so I practiced in the pigsty.
In old days, every family here knew how to make a palm tree broom. However, as times change, it was thanks to a school that the traditional art was preserved.
The three components of a Kanglang broom are leaves of tawny date palms, stems of shell gingers, and the canthophyllums as the handle.
For over a decade, Jintan Elementary School has been teaching its charges to make a miniature version of the heaven and earth sweeper.
You tied it wrong here. You need to go through here and tie a knot over here.
You made a mistake right here.
Though tying the rope is difficult, doing this is fun.
The class is led by a teacher who grew up here and wants to pass down the tradition.
The school said we should keep the arts alive, so I said sure. After all, it was a part of my childhood.
Thanks to the efforts of Jintan Elementary, the secret of the heaven and earth sweeper will never be forgotten.
Volunteers in Thailand have been going around schools in Bangkok to locate and help every student who is struggling to pay tuition fees. With Tzuji's financial assistance, students can better focus on their studies, and their parents or legal guardians also have one less expense to worry about. Student aid recipients also took part in the Buddha Day celebrations in Bangkok, where they came to better understand the importance of appreciating what they already have in life. Tzuji student aid recipient Pompitak lives with his aunt, who does odd jobs to make ends meet. However, a fire last month reduced their belongings to ash.
There was a fire at our house and it burnt all his socks and uniforms. We need to buy new ones now.
Deserted by her parents, Sukanya lives with her 79-year-old grandmother. The young girl peddles snacks after school to earn some cash.
I want to buy school supplies and a bicycle with my student aid, so I can bike around the neighborhood to sell snacks.
With a list of names provided by local schools, Tzuji volunteers in Bangkok go from door to door to visit needy students to see what help they can give to these disadvantaged youngsters who are devoted to their families and want to stay in school.
Other scholarships are awarded to students with top grades and do not follow up with the student's performance. Tzuji Scholarship is the only student aid available to pupils who do well in school and have good moral characters.
At the Tzuji Buddha Day ceremony in Bangkok, youngsters come to understand and appreciate their parents for their love and support. Parents are also here with hearts of thanks for Tzuji's assistance to their children. Participants can also take home a coin bank to help those who fare less well.
จะสอนให้เขากลับจากโรงเรียนตังค์ที่เหลือที่คุณแม่ให้ไปโรงเรียนหนูจะทำไงลูกจะปุกครับวันละเท่าไหร่ลูก10 บาท10 บาทเลยเหรอลูกเหรอตั้งใจไว้อย่างนั้นใช่ไหมลูกครับ
Some students also came to the ceremony with topped-up coin banks from last year. Their generosity gives volunteers the motivation to work even harder for needy students in their plan to bring scholarships to 600 pupils in 8 schools. In Vietnam, Tzuji volunteers organized 2 Buddha Day ceremonies. One took place at the Taiwanese Chambers of Commerce in Binh Duan Province, the other at the Taipei School in Ho Chi Minh City. Both of these celebrations happened on the same day, which means that volunteers had to rush from one place to the other in order to put together the events for more than 400 people in 2 different locations. Regardless of the distance and time pressure, it was a task volunteers willingly undertook. Before the day breaks in Ho Chi Minh City, while the streets are empty and quiet, there is already music playing at the Taipei School. Volunteers are doing last-minute preparations for the Tzuji Buddha Day ceremony. When the sun is out, the heat has participants sweating profusely. However, many of them, including this woman and her child, seem to be calmed by the serenity of the event. The second Buddha Day ceremony takes place at the Taiwanese Chambers of Commerce in Bingduan Province. Immediately after the first ceremony, volunteers pack up and travel to Bingduan to prepare for the second event. Though starting from scratch, volunteers find setting up to be easier the second time around. Ceremony participants, whether sitting or standing, are immersed in the joy of the Buddha's festival. Many also wrote down on a card a good wish for their family. The two Buddha Day ceremonies in Vietnam saw more than 400 people, and volunteers feel blessed to be part of the auspicious event twice in a day. So on the topic of Buddha Day ceremony, in Muar, Malaysia, two Tzu Chi Buddha Day ceremonies were held this year. Altogether, more than 2,000 participants joined the celebrations. This was also the first time Dharma masters were invited to take part.
Nearly 2,000 participants joined Tzu Chi Buddha Day ceremony held in Muar. Praying together with thousands of people by the Buddha altar is a new experience for Ye Lingxuan, who joined the ceremony for the first time.
I feel that the ceremony is very special. It brings us pure, solemn and auspicious karma.
Participants in the ceremony include people from all religions and ethnicities, including Master Zhen Jing, who is a first-timer.
When I first arrived, I thought the ceremony is so solemn. I'm pleased to see so many people joining us to share the bliss of the Buddha.
Though a Catholic, Xie Quansheng also joins the ceremony despite the religious difference.
Catholics believe in love and to love all. This is the same as Tzu Chi's teachings, a universal love.
People are gathered together for their faith of love and to pray for the world. We see not only the beauty of Buddhism, but also the harmony between religions and ethnicities.
At the end of the show, we go to Singapore, where Tzu Chi volunteers organized a special event for children aged 10 to 12 to show their gratitude to their parents in action. There are many tear-jerking moments for the moms and dads who were extremely moved by their children's affectionate gesture. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you for watching DaAi Headlines. Goodbye.